I don't edit anything.
She's
You
not
know
gonna
that.
ask me anything crazy.
All right, this is the interview with Stephanie Coatney for Tampa Bay Film, interviewing David Melendez.
Hi, David.
Hello.
Can you tell me? Now, I've met you before through an audition, but can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure, I'm an independent filmmaker. I have a local independent film production company in Tampa. It's called Studio House Pictures.
Studio House Pictures.
I've been making films. I've been making films now for quite some time, but I've done it under the Studio House banner since 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a little over 4 years.
Great.
So I've been doing. Working on a second feature now, and a lot of the stuff I've done is short films, and from any genre. I just did a romantic. My first romance I produced. My
Oh.
first romantic movie.
How did it go?
It went great. We actually had a premiere here, and it was actually outstanding.
Wonderful.
And it got into the Gasparilla Film Festival, and there's a few other festivals here locally that I got into. Let me see, and we've done some psychological thrillers. That's kind of like what I geared towards, more psychological thrillers,
Oh, okay.
and
Cool.
darker films. And so since we've done the last romantic movie, I had an idea for actually the movie you came on audition for.
Oh, really?
It's a pretty strong, grimy crime drama
Mhm.
type of female-driven film.
I like that.
It's in the works, so it's a lot of work, so in the background work. So
Sure. Yeah.
so that's actually what I've been doing.
Do you,
Last few years.
do you get to do that full time?
I do. I mean, it's unfortunate. Like with the arts, you still have to have some other source of
Oh,
income.
yeah. I think most people do. They
Yeah.
just don't tell you that they do, whether they're in the arts or not.
Yeah. Usually, like when you afterwards, like in network meetings and stuff, they
Mhm.
ask, "Well, what do you do for a living?"
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
thing.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
have this business or that business.
Yeah. So my wife and I are in real estate. We're
Oh,
real estate
great.
investing, so that's keeps everything afloat, and then
Sure.
I'm able to
Actually
make
spend your
yeah.
time doing the film.
Yeah, so I'm able to make films because it requires money. So
Right.
Yeah.
And you have a nice studio.
well, that wasn't. I was
That was
rented.
in the
No,
studio?
that was rented.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was rented space. I learned that a long time ago to not pay for space.
Really.
Yeah, because I used to a long time ago, but it's
It's
by the
just
time you
different.
finish editing and by the time you have meetings, it's like you're better off kind of sporadically doing it somewhere else. Especially these days, a lot of people have
Gotcha.
a place for it. So in that particular place, I didn't want to do it at my house or anything.
Right.
So yeah, I rented a studio for 2 months.
But you said you did shoot one at your house, the one we saw
Yes.
today.
Yeah. That's the one thing I never. Well, I always say never, but I always push for. Let's just try to keep our stories simple
Sure.
because of the experience I've had. When you try to make, sometimes less is more,
Mhm.
especially on film.
If you let the actors lead it, then
Yes, absolutely. So I always had kind of like this little rule. It's just kind of keep. It's kind of indie spirit rule. Shoot in your own backyard. Shoot with people you know.
Mhm.
Because why? I mean, why are you going to write a story that takes place in Canada? It's like we have, we have Tampa here.
Where are you gonna get the snow?
Create all your stories here. Exactly. Create your stories here. So this makes stuff a lot easier. So, but one of the things I always didn't want to do was shoot. Like, I'm not going to shoot in my house. I'm not going to shoot with like more than 3 actors per
Sure.
scene. Just to help speed things up. And when we shot Mombi, it was the total opposite. It was just, we had 6 characters, all in one scene. Which I also shot multiple cameras, which I never do. And also that movie was very, very, it was static. I never shoot static, so it was
Right.
killing me. But it was something new, and it was comedy, which I've never written before. So it was tough. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. So, like the toughest thing to do is to try to make people laugh. When they're watching your stuff, they're not laughing. It's pretty brutal.
Well, I laughed, and so you did good.
Thank you.
That was really entertaining.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure. Chris, did you have any
It's all about
questions?
timing when writing comedy.
Absolutely.
It's a specific beat when you have to write that.
Yeah.
See, very few people think I'm funny, but I think I'm funny. So my comedy that I write in my
Yeah, she
head,
keeps it cracking up all the time.
I keep myself laughing. Exactly. But I'm the only one who's always with me, so that works.
Hey, it's the best entertainer for us.
Right?
I like my own jokes too.
Was that Jewel in Mombi?
Jules, yeah. I worked with Jules back in. I think it was '09 as well. I met him on a short film I did, also on a crime drama that I did, and he was great. He was great to work with, and I've seen a lot of other projects he's worked on here locally, and so when we came up with this project for Mombi, I said, listen, you know what would be perfect for this role would be Jules. So I called him up, just gave him the part.
Yeah, I was actually impressed. He's a pretty good actor.
Yeah, I like him.
Was he was the home
The homeowner
homeowners
association guy.
guy.
And notice they didn't call the cops or anything, they called the HOA.
No, not the cops, just the
Yeah.
HOA.
And then when I ran into him again, he asked me, how do you want me to look? And as soon as when I met up with him again, because I hadn't seen him in a while, he had these big mud chops. So I'm like, dude, you look perfect. It's like,
That works.
just keep the mud chops and, just maybe shave this a little bit. And he was perfect. He was a real trooper, and he came with his own little wardrobe, and it was, he bought his jacket at the, like a Salvation Army or something. Poor guy, and they just got so soaked with blood, the fake blood and
That's
stuff.
right.
So he ended up just pitching. He's like, I paid $2 for that thing anyway. So he's just a real trooper, and that production was actually it was very smooth.
Was it?
It was 8 hours a day for 2 days, and it was the most like smoothest structure I've ever had. So it was great working with everybody, and again, I kept it to one location, so it
Right.
just made it easier. But it doesn't matter. I mean, when you start making these indie films, things they just tend to go overtime because the stuff that you can't control. I mean, it's
Everything
just-
takes longer than you think it's going to.
it's crazy with lighting and getting crew, and in this case I'm like, we're just crazy. I was telling the guys on my crew, we have like this ongoing joke where I'm always getting frustrated. I'm like, why do we do this stuff for? And they always laugh because you love it, because you love it.
Love it.
And every time there's always something comes up, you know what I mean? It's either like somebody didn't show up or some equipment doesn't work, and then in this case with Mombi was, oh, let's not shoot with one camera, so we started watching sitcoms, and we're like, okay, well, they do multiple cameras, they're all static. I'm like, oh, let's get 3 cameras.
Right.
Yeah, it's just more people to manage more stuff and harder to grab audio. It's just,
Less room in the actual, like, on set.
yeah, well, exactly. Like on our
That
on our
was a small
Facebook, yeah,
space.
on our Facebook page, there's photos of the production. We're all crammed.
Just on top of each other,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
all crammed. Especially you got these 3 cameras and we had audio. I mean, the one thing that was that I thought it was the first time I ever done too is we had lav mics for everybody, so everybody had wireless. I mean, if you really watch closely, I mean, I think every filmmaker they're their biggest critique. So I watched all my projects. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is bad. It's like you can see like the wire, or you see the box in their back,
Sure.
but nobody notices that stuff. But I spotted all that out. So and that was the first production I've ever used wireless mics, and it's also the last production that I've ever shot with DSLR cameras, which is just your traditional DSLR, because we're shooting now on UHD now. But in that particular
You guys are
project,
shooting 4K?
we could have for Mombi, but I decided not to. I wanted to shoot in HD because I wanted it to be like if it was going to be broadcasted on television.
Sure.
So I went to that was like the road to like this is the last project we'll shoot on DSLR. Plus, I wanted to be multiple cameras, and to get 4K cameras is more costly,
Crazy.
and it's
Yeah.
So in this case, we had access to Canon cameras, so we set them all up and we storyboarded it or how we wanted it all structured and took off with it. So, yeah. The multiple camera shoots are not. The assumption is it's a lot easier. It's actually a lot more work.
Is that?
Yeah. And the good thing is you don't have to take multiple takes, which is nice. You do one take, but it all has to. It's like an orchestra.
Right.
It's got to be all right the first time. and
Everybody's
that's it.
gonna
Because
be in
if
tune.
you have one bad take, then every shot is a bad take.
Right.
So that's why it's more work. You have to manage more cameras, and is that one going, and does that one need new battery? And so it's one camera is really ideal.
Right.
Okay, that's good. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm seeing here. But the camera put a graphic on the monitor. I'm like, oh, what is that?
Low battery.
No, I am burning through that battery there, that's for sure. I got like 21 minutes left.
Any other questions?
No, I don't think so. Did you have any for me?
This is the
Joe
first.
on the
Well, this is the
spot.
first time we met outside of just
It is,
the
yeah.
audition. The auditions that we didn't. I don't. necessarily have time. We don't have the time to talk and chat.
I didn't even get
But
to
I-
audition. I had to do a video
That's
audition.
right. That's right. Because you thought the time, and
I
but I
haven't
came
tried
out.
all the
I came
time.
out. And that's
Mhm.
right. I met you in the car,
Yeah.
and I recognized you from I Am Super.
For my MC for
Yeah,
that's
with
awesome.
Agen's film. Yeah, yeah. I've seen that a few times, and I know the director of photography for that. too.
He's great.
He's great.
And also Brandon.
Yeah, yeah. I've been wanting to
He makes some really beautiful films.
work with him for a while. So we had an event here last October, and I invited him so he could bring one of his films. I thought it was fantastic. So
They
one-
did another one together with a bunch of kids, I believe. Did you see that?
Yes, it was like with basketball.
Yeah.
It was on basketball, but yeah, I don't remember it entirely, but I remember,
I remember
seeing that
it was
last year at a
really
film
good.
festival we were
Mhm.
at, and he also did.
Sunscreening thing.
Yeah, he's working on quite a few. He's getting work on some feature movies.
Is he? That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, I think he's
He's
working
got a
on his
good
third
eye.
one. Yeah, yeah. So every time we talk, it's his schedule is always tied up. 'Cause I
Sure.
want him to work with me, and it just hasn't worked out. But that's usually the way it is. Same with actors. Sometimes I'll call actors and like I'll know. So I usually don't do a whole lot of casting calls
Mhm.
because a lot of the scripts that I'll write, like I'll have an idea who I can plug in for that,
Sure.
who to work. But I always prepare like if they can't take the role, because a lot of people just can't just schedule,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. So. It's the main thing is just I just try to keep in touch with everybody.
That's good.
It's a small world. you know.
It
And
is.
there's a lot of projects coming, so
It really
it's a
is.
lot. So with this movie we're working on, it's been pretty hectic. I mean, the script's done, it's been done, but there's some just unfortunate events that's happening, personal events, and we're trying to raise. Now we have to try to raise some more funding because I have some funding in it, but I can't finance the whole movie myself.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got to eat on set, and and everybody should get paid
Right.
as well. So I'll rather take care of all that instead of trying to rush into production. Like these guys, the guys who made Frostbite were saying that they had investment money and pulled out last minute.
Right.
They still went through. They're troopers. People came together and
Amazing. They're able to finish it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean that's one thing. I mean that's what I always say. Is that we're already here. You can either just let the ship sink, or we can just take it with you. Because I'm not getting paid either. But I always strive to make sure everybody's taken care of.
That's great.
Every time I try to. I'd rather
I like
not.
this guy.
I'd rather not make a project
Right.
than make one and just say, hey, let's do another freebie. Because we've all been through that. So much.
Haven't we? My
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. It's already.
I like
It's
that
already hard enough.
there are people like you that are making it change, though.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. I mean, it's not. People call it an investment, and it's hard to invest in movies because it's, the distribution channel is not. It's a buyer's market. It's not a seller's market anymore. When a few years ago, when streaming was starting to come up, with Netflix and Hulu and all these companies were hungry for content.
Right.
Now it's just so congested with so many people making movies,
Right.
and not just local indie filmmakers like us. It's just
Everywhere.
there's so much content that now they can pick.
Mhm.
Before I remember, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Netflix they had like all kinds of stuff on there.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like I can't get my movie on there, but that movie got on there.
You
know what I
have to be
mean?
lost in a sea of movies.
Yeah, it's just all these crazy movies, and now they're able to pick and choose.
Yeah.
So we try to strive for I always try to raise the bar for myself, whether in making better stories, richer characters, and then just kind of raising each production in quality,
Yeah.
whether it's picture or whether it's using different equipment, stuff like that.
Right.
To me, it's just it all comes down to, it's my humble opinion, it's just screenplay, get good actors. That's pretty much it.
I agree.
Because equipment doesn't really matter.
I think the DP is really important. Too.
Yeah. But even then, even if you get somebody who's okay,
Mhm.
if your story is still compelling and still drives, then they forgive you for that.
Sure.
That's why I think a lot of people make horror movies.
Sure.
Because horror movies are fun
Mhm.
and people laugh, and when you notice mistakes, it's okay because people are still they're engaged in the story. They want to know
Right.
what happens. But if you're doing a drama, or in our case, we did our first comedy. It was just like, man, if this thing if it starts to look bad, then it's just like, man, this thing sucks and it looks bad.
I'm mad at
So
you.
it's just like, double smack. You know what I mean? So I try to raise the bar in every single production since I've started making movies. I started making movies in the early 2000s,
That's
or at least being involved in other
Sure.
people's projects. I'm like, wow, everybody else is kind of doing it.
Wait a second. I
So
can do
yeah,
this
let
myself.
me get into it. So I kind of learn the ropes, and that's it.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Have you ever done any acting as well?
I have, unfortunately.
Not your thing?
I don't like being in front of the camera. I have. People have stuck me in small roles here and there.
Sure.
No big deal. Just it's in some of the indie films, I'm like, they kind of stick me in there.
A few little David cameos.
Yeah, a few little David cameos here and there. They did some where, yeah, it's pretty funny. You can find them online.
I'm gonna find him. Well, cool. Did you have anything else you wanted to ask?
It's good to see you on a set of Book of Nightmares.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to help Rick out because I know the struggle. So he wanted somebody to shoot some behind the scenes for his
See,
film.
I'll give you an example. Stephanie's tired. She just worked 3 days straight. So today she's a little bit wiped out. I can completely relate to that. That day I showed up on Book of Nightmares, I had 2 hours of sleep.
Oh wow.
That's why I look like that. I was like, God, 2
Yeah.
hours of sleep. But yeah, I had to work as a photographer and figure out that puzzle on 2 hours of sleep.
Oh wow. Yeah, for
Sometimes
me,
you got to
that was-
sacrifice, to do what you need to do.
Yeah, for me, it was that was fun. I was shooting behind the scenes.
On the Book of Nightmares?
Yeah. So it was great because I would see all these meltdowns and I'd see like problems. I don't have to worry about it. It was like a fly on the wall. This is great. I just had a monopod and just shot away. And it was that's something else I've never done either. But he had asked me to help, so I'm like, yeah, sure, I can shoot some stuff for you.
He was like, David showed up, he goes, you probably don't remember me, Chris, but I'm like, oh, of course I remember you, man.
So that was a lot of fun because again, it's one of those things where I show up and somebody was gracious enough to let them use their big house.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
you got all these people in your house,
Yeah.
running around. They have dogs in there too. That
And need to be quiet.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And they're working with kids,
Oh my
also
goodness.
too, which is a handful. And I was like, man, this is great. I'm just going around this sea of people, and they have like makeup department in the back, and kids running around here, and they got 2 dogs barking in the cage.
And then Darren and Brienza were out there with the freaking crane. I mean, they were getting some really good shots.
Yeah, yeah.
I was behind them. I go, holy crap, these guys are getting some good work.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. For me, it was a lot of fun.
So yeah, that was really good. But David, thank you very much
You're very
for
welcome.
the
Yeah,
interview.
thank you,
Thank you.
David.
Nice seeing you again.
You too.
And before we end the interview, you have any questions for us? I'm sure you have questions. Of course you have questions. Everybody has questions.
Curious
Usually not
mind.
good on the spot here. Are you working on anything?
I am. I'm going to be filming in June in Orlando. I've got 5 days set up for straight filming, and it's going to be 2 different films, 2 short films. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that because feels like it's been forever since I've been on set, other than from Shopping Network. But
I know from people that work, just more crew people that work.
yeah, I model there probably at least once a month or so.
Oh, nice.
I'm out of wigs. You wouldn't even know me. It's fun. So I've got that, and then a charity thing I'm going to be singing at in
Nice.
mid-June, and a graduation in a couple weeks too. They'll be doing the anthem for.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm excited.
You
Get
look
to-
excited.
Get to sit up there like with all the important people. They're all decked out in lovely garb, and I'm just, hey, I'm entertainment. But,
That's
yeah,
cool. That's
so
cool.
that's what I've got going on. Yeah.
What are you doing this for? Just to kind of put online? And,
Tampa Bay Film. The voice of Tampa Bay independent film.
I gotcha. That's right. I remember you took a picture of me. In one of these events, I come to quite a few of
He's
these.
a great photographer.
You took a picture of me, and then that's right, and it said Tampa Bay Independent Film. So,
Well, that's the working domain name, but the actual branding domain is Tampa Bay Film.
TampaBayFilm.com.
Yep, TampaBayFilm.com.
I'm gonna have to check it out now that I'm gonna be on it. Well, hopefully, if I make the
Be
cut.
on it.
If I make the cut.
You'll be
You
there.
will make the cut, I'm
Make
sure.
the cut. Hopefully, you'll edit it nice.
Yeah, I've known Stephanie for many, many years. I mean, she was 13 years old when I first met her.
13.
We did my first photo shoot when I was trying to decide. I'm like, I want to be a model. So yeah, he did my first photo shoot, and then I guess probably like 15 years went by. We've recently reconnected, done some more photo shoots.
Yeah, God, we've done a lot of photo shoots like
Yeah,
in the
we've
last
already
couple
done
months.
like 3, I think, 2 or 3. Yeah.
And then they
It's
were
been fun.
epic productions. They were using trees as hangers.
Hey, why not? I know all about
Yeah,
that.
in that
It worked
15.
really well
See,
as a wardrobe
when I first
guy.
shot Stephanie, I had just turned pro, and in
And I
that
had no
15
idea
years, that 15 years, I could tell you stories of some of the experiences I've had in this industry. Just as a photographer, working in independent films, stuff like that. I mean, it's been crazy.
Are you working on independent films?
I'm actually classically trained as a filmmaker.
Okay.
I was trained as a filmmaker years before I was a photographer. I did independent films on 3/4 inch back in 1993.
Okay. Are your films online?
No, they weren't my films per se. I just worked on them.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But I will. One reason I'm investing so much into independent film is I'm going to be doing a lot of films in the future. And of course, I'm going to be casting Stephanie in some of them too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Slide it in there.
So we're working on a series of screenplays right now. Basically, as a photographer, you start with a portfolio. Once you have a portfolio, that's what you use to sell. And I think that can translate to independent filmmaking. Independent filmmakers can start small on minimum equipment,
Sure.
make a portfolio of films to show what they can do, and then once they have that portfolio of independent films, they can then pitch to the investors. And when that happens, they can get the producers coming in, giving them money, and they can actually get the real equipment.
Well, I think that's what a lot of us try to do. I mean, that's why short films are so popular.
But I just don't-
I think the struggle is getting the right people to come in and invest, or just setting up those meetings. I mean, that's why I think festivals are important, because
Right.
it brings people together. But it's still hit or miss. You know what I mean? Because you have to bring the right people, or not bring them, but who's going to be attracted enough to
Attract
come
the right
and
people.
who's going to make a difference. You know, because I think
Yeah.
that's what everybody's. Short films are great, and you know, minimal money, minimal equipment, and it really does show your portfolio. And that was what my plan was. You go to our Studios website, it's all posters of all our short films. You can see trailers, you can see a lot of the commercials I've done, a lot of the music videos that I've produced.
I did check it out before I
Okay,
auditioned.
cool. So we try to just kind of like, here, this is what we can do, and the
Tell me
tough
what you
part is
have.
that bridge on like, okay, how can I get people? I hate to say people that matter. It's not really a good choice of words, but meaning people that matter in the business, people
Right.
that are interested in like, okay, look, I got X amount of dollars. I want to bring you guys on board to make this or to make a next project.
Right.
You know?
The
And I
movers
think
and
that's
shakers.
been the struggle now for forever.
Tell me about it. That's what I've been trying to do as an actress, is get and make these short films so that I can create a reel.
Absolutely. Well, that's what we
Not-
talked about with the pay stuff. That's
Right.
why when you first start out, sure, you do free gigs here, you help people out, because you're trying to build a portfolio,
Right.
so you can show your talent off,
Right.
and then once you can start getting paid gigs, you know. But even with reels, I mean, really, your reels got to pop. People have such a short attention span.
I
You gotta,
know.
like, you got to grab them in the first 5 seconds, or else they're just
I
like,
know.
although they look on their phone, or when this thing, unfortunately, it's just the way it is. So.
It's true.
So yeah, so no, I agree what you're saying. I just think that that's what a lot of people's plans are. I mean, that's why you saw the movies here, a lot of short films, and
Yep.
and that's why I like these events. I mean, anywhere where you can get an audience, and where people let you introduce your film or talk, and they know who you are, it's great. You know what I mean? I mean, I've known a lot of people making films out here for a long time,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'll meet up with them. We'll talk about their project. Not necessarily I don't have to get involved, but we talk about the struggle.
I didn't even realize there was a scene here until I met Joe many years back. I'd say probably about 2006.
Davidson?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought he was crazy. You're gonna do film here?
I actually,
And there's
well,
actually is a big scene.
yeah. I mean, I know he's been around for a while. I actually was on his. I was a PA on his.
Oh,
Back
really?
in like 2008, because that was when I was trying to like get to know people.
Yeah.
And anybody who was making a movie, I'll just like, you know, I try to get on and do anything.
Be
You know,
involved.
I'll run cable. I'll do anything. So I've done like everything, every trick of the trade on crew. So just and over time, you know, it's like, well, I got my own stories and we try to get my own thing together. And what I really wanted to do at one point was, because I really enjoyed producing movies, so I really wanted to help other filmmakers getting their movies made. And it wasn't that easy. Everybody wants to do stuff on their own, which is fine. But it's like, look, I'm not trying to take over your movie or anything.
Yeah,
Just,
I'm
the only thing I want is just, you know, if like, you know, if it produces under my production company, poster shows up on my site, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna steal your movie. I'm not, you know, if you make $1 million off of it, I'm not gonna take you to court. It's just, I just want to be involved, more hands-on, more knowing with just more and more people's projects, and not even get involved creatively unless I'm asked.
Right.
You know, because a lot of times people just need help shifting in the right direction. It's already hard enough making, you know, writing a screenplay and then just going through the steps and okay, now I gotta get in and get crew, get my cast, do audition, provide lunch, make sure it's not too hot, people get chairs, make sure there's a restroom nearby.
Right.
It's a lot of work, you know. And at the end of the day, it's like you want people to watch your movie. That's the key to it. Just keep showing your movie. Keep showing your movie. At whatever event, just keep showing your movie. The more and more people that see it, the more and more people you talk to, and like I said, like what you were mentioning about trying to get everybody together, and create a portfolio and just continue to grow is, I think, the missing gap is to get people to bring interest, people that are not actually making movies, but like people who have money to invest in making, you know, to get a movie distributed or something like that.
Right.
'Cause times are tough now, man. There's so much, like I said, there's so much content out there. There's so many mediums that it has become a buyer's market.
Yep.
Like there, people are not pounding down the door. They're like, well, you know, I can make a movie for $100,000, you know, and get, you know.
All right,
one actor,
guys.
you know.
I hate to interrupt, but we're
Cut me
out
off?
of no, we're out
Did
of,
it
we're out of
die?
power. We're out of power.
You
I was on a roll.
Better.
I was on a roll.
I know you on a roll. All right.
I don't even get to do my closing statement.
I know, but unfortunately it says change battery, and I don't have any other batteries on me, so I'm done.
So now you are gonna have to edit that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna edit anything. It's gonna be raw and uncut. That's what
Yeah.
people want.
It's a good thing I didn't
They
talk
want
bad about it.
raw,
Right.
uncut,
You gotta tell him to
uncensored.
stop because you gotta tell him to stop doing the whole.
Stop.
He met you. Was it 15, 13 years ago?
Yeah.
No,
15.
when you were 13.
When I was 13.
And then he said something about 15 years ago.
Yep, that's
People are gonna
right.
start doing the math to figure out your age.
Yeah, Chris.
You're young.
So you gotta tell him, hey,
You're young.
don't tell anybody. When you know, it's okay if you tell them. It's good if you leave it at we met.
Hey,
when
I
was
don't age.
13.
I don't
Then
age
they sit there
either.
and try to figure it out. But as soon as he said, 15 years ago when I went pro, and it's like, wait a minute, okay, let me see how old she is.
That's okay. I don't mind.
It's a joke. You know, it's a thing with like, don't ask a woman how old she is.
I'm surprised this thing's still rolling. To be honest with you. I'm
Is it?
just. Yeah.
Oh, it's
You
still
said it
going?
Got like a little cross through the battery.
Yeah, it's probably got. It's like your gas tank.
I just want the
Oh,
shutter
right,
to
right.
close, so I want enough juice to
Okay.
close the shutter. So, all right, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap it.